What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, and today we've got a fun one to round out our time with the CB1000R. We're putting it head to head with its predecessor, the 919. All right, Whitney, we already know your thoughts on the CB1000R. We did an entire video where Whitney did her first ride and impressions on this thing. And while you didn't love it, you did admit that it was a solid motorcycle. It's fun, it's fast, it handles well in the twisties, but it just didn't excite you.
Right. It does everything. I feel like we've done this before with a past motorcycle where it like checks all the boxes and you're like, okay.
Then we have the 919, which is a motorcycle that both of us keep coming back to.
Yes.
But I'm interested to see back to back what you think of these. And while we're standing here, we got to talk about the looks, because you're a vintage bike snob. You enjoy the old school look. But what do you think about the looks on both of these motorcycles?
Snob. I don't like it. They're fine. This we've always known I don't think is pretty in any way. But then you ride it and you're like, wow, I'm older, I'm more mature, I don't care how it looks anymore, this is a great motorcycle. But in the dealership, when I've seen these, they don't do anything for me. I've owned vintage Hondas in the past. I am a sucker, like a downright sucker, for those classic 60s and 70s line of CBs. So jumping from that to this, it's fine.
So me personally, I actually really do dig the looks on this one.
What do you like about it?
First of all, I adore the red because it's so evocative
nice.
of my original 919.
Sure.
Honda's red is really nice.
Yes.
I also like how they've got a bunch of the old brushed silver stuff like it has on the 919. They did a lot of stuff to make this bike call back to this one, and I appreciate that.
I'm going too far back.
This one is trying to be a modern version of a motorcycle that technically is modern. So the Ouroboros is eating its tail here.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's a weird place to be. So now it's like reboots are just similar. They're like a little slimmer.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
You want a reboot of a motorcycle from 50 years ago versus a reboot of a motorcycle from 20 years ago. So
that's weird. We're at a weird place right now.
We really are. But now we have to get both of these motorcycles out on the street to see how they stack up side by side. But before we do, I gotta remind you that this is the last day to get yourself entered to win the CB1000R right here. This thing is it's gonna leave a hole in my heart when it's gone, because while it's not your favorite, I actually really do dig riding this thing around. It's fun, it's torquey, it's fast, and it's very quickly gonna show up in one of your garages. So click that link down in the description below to get yourself signed up to win. You have until midnight tonight, 11:59 Pacific Standard Time, to get entered to win. So don't delay. You're gonna run out of time, and then you're gonna be sad because you missed out. Don't miss out. Let's get out on the road. Alrighty, rolling out, we've got Whitney on the CB1000R, and I am on the Hornet right here. This thing, I have had a Hornet in my life for years and years and years. Even when it wasn't in the garage, it lived in my heart, because this was the bike that introduced me to sport bikes. So I have an emotional attachment to this thing, as I do believe you do as well.
Absolutely.
Because this bike it's a real charmer, and this is where the CB1000R leads. You know, so the 919 is from the early 2000s, and now in the modern era, we have the CB1000R. How do you feel riding that thing down the road?
You know what? I'm going to be real honest. I'm going to be real vulnerable with our audience right now. I'm depressed right now with society, and I haven't slept a lot. but I will say that this bike is not making me any happier right now. Which is,
no!
I said it! But like I said, you know what? Nail me to the cross. You guys can crucify me. That's fine. And for context, my first motorcycle was a 1965 CB160. I owned a 1976 CB360 as well. Like, I'm a diehard vintage Honda fan, okay? So when Spite asked me to come out and ride a new modern CB, I did get a little grumpy. I'm such a spoiled motorcycle brat. I'll just be the first to admit that. We've ridden so many different types of motorcycles over the years. I've been given a lot of great opportunities to try different bikes all over the country. And I'm a brat, so just know that when I say this, but it's not doing anything for me.
See that when we did our first ride, and I that's why I wanted to bust that video out into its own thing, because I secretly knew deep in my heart, I just didn't want to acknowledge that fact.
Yes, on the way over here, you're like, I don't know what you're gonna think. And Spite has never, ever, ever said that. He's usually pretty good at knowing what I'm gonna think, which was that was the first red flag, and now we both recognize that.
Yeah, I just secretly, deep in my heart, did not want to admit that I thought I was putting you on a motorcycle that you weren't gonna jive with. Like, we can acknowledge that that's a solid machine. It's got
Absolutely.
great horsepower. It's got great handling. It's got great brakes. It's a modern Honda. How could it be bad? But the Whitney universe is one in which a motorcycle has to have character to survive.
Like I always say, and this always grosses out people, but it's like, if it doesn't give me a boner, then I don't want it. Like, the end. Like, and it's handling fine. I prefer the Ducati Diavolo that we just brought out here and the Tuonos, like a spoiled brat would.
I'm turning Whitney into a Italian motorcycle snob.
Yeah, dude, it was gonna happen.
Well, why don't we pull into this neighborhood here on the left, and we'll swap over and get you on the 919 and see if this is a better motorcycle or just one that you jive with more.
Oh, dude, I already know.
I wish for this video, I really wish that I had my old red 919.
Yeah.
Because I gotta say that this red, this flaked metal red.
I also like the matching shock.
Yeah, they did a really good job making this bike look like the old 919. Which is why when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's the modern interpretation of it. And I've heed and hawed on it a little bit, but I really do think, now that I've been riding them around, that this is the modern 919.
Oh, don't say that. Just don't say that. Look, I'm in the Honda 919 cult. You initiated me. I was there. There was a crazy ritual. And I remember look at that.
Is that a Mandalorian Boba Fett Cybertruck?
I don't know. It's probably for sale on Facebook Marketplace for $100K. Anyways, my grave plot is on the hill of the 919 is nothing like the Kawasaki 900 RS. That's the hill I'm dying on in 40 years, if not sooner. So when you say that, it doesn't... Why would you say that? Why would you say that this is the... Why would you say that? Because this feels great. The way this makes power is special. The way this makes power is boring and, reliable and all those things that exist in another dimension that I don't really ever dip my toes into. But why would you say that? We're going to get into a heated argument right here. We're not even going to get on the bikes.
Well, let's continue this conversation on the road so that we can vary the scenery for the folks at home.
Settle this right here.
Man, hopping on this thing though, I have to say that while you may not love the character of this motorcycle, it is infinitely better than the 919.
Oh.
The seating position is better, the handlebar width is better, the handling is better, the brakes are better. This is a modern iteration of that bike. However, just because it's more capable as a motorcycle doesn't mean that it's the better one for us. You know what I mean?
I also like the way the 919 cradles you. It cradles you very nicely.
Yeah, it carries you well. This one it feels like a motorcycle with a purpose. You know, the purpose of this motorcycle is to haul the mail, be comfortable, be sporty, but also be, you know, kind of your daily driver. Like it's like owning it. For me, it's my Speed 3, right? I have a Mazda Speed 3 as my daily driver car. Inline 4, turbocharged. It's fun to drive. It handles really well. Doesn't get great gas mileage like this thing. And I don't want to get rid of that car because it's fun to drive. It makes going to the office or going to the grocery store fun.
Spite,
That's
I'm
what
going
this
to
is.
I'm going to choose a Subaru STI over a Mazda 3 every hour of every day. Right? Subaru STI, it's like more fun, it's less practical. I don't know, man, but that's a really good comparison. It is like a Mazda 3. See, this is waxing some of the disdain that has accumulated on my life.
That's a throttle therapy kind of motorcycle.
This is a throttle therapy motorcycle. But the spoiled brat in me doesn't really feel that with the bullet train, you know, constant power delivery, charging aspect of the CB.
I think one of the things that's most interesting is while this bike handles better, I wouldn't say it's significantly better than the old CB, the 919, because we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I want to get a little bit more into detail on it. The frame construction on this bike is almost identical to the frame construction on the 919. When I pulled the gas tank off to install the cruise control, the frame is this single square tube steel chunk that runs across the spine of the bike, as opposed to a lot of modern hypernakeds that have twin spar frames like a modern superbike. So when you look at the construction of this frame, you can tell that it's not aimed at the super sporty rider. It can do it, but that's not what it's designed for. And that's a very similar setup to the old 919. The old 919 has almost the exact same construction.
So that is why I don't feel extra confidence or extra inspired in a corner with that motorcycle.
So yeah, what you're feeling is you're feeling that the previous generation motorcycle frame that's in this bike. It's not a hyper modern frame. And I think that's why you're not feeling inspired through a corner on this thing any more than you are on the 919.
Right.
Something about the nature of the CB is it's like it wants to go out and enjoy a weekend ride. It's not trying to bust any lap records or anything like that. You know what I mean?
The CB, no, it's definitely not. It's the practical man sport bike. Yeah, I don't mean to take dumps on your giveaway bike by any means, but it's the RoboCop reboot of motorcycles. It's probably a lot I've never seen it and I never will, but it's probably got all the nice CGI and all the other great things that come with modern Hollywood. Not, but it lacks like the fun satire of the original 80s movie.
It feels like perhaps that if we're gonna follow that thread, it feels like this bike takes itself seriously where perhaps the 919 does not. And I do feel like this, while it may not be a spiritual successor to the 919, it doesn't carry the character of the 919. It does feel like a worthy actual successor. If we had to have a modern CB, this is the one it should be.
You like how the modern CB looks too, right?
Oh, I love the way this thing looks. I really do. Ever since I saw the CB650R, I was like, yeah, that's a sick bike. And that bike feels great too. Like, they're all such good motorcycles. But I would understand why somebody who wants a characterful riding experience would bounce off this thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's another common theme that I feel like a horrible person, like not liking this bike that does everything and turns on and is great and can handle, I mean, any situation, any modern day situation. I feel like a bad person saying that, but look, you asked me for my opinion, and that's that. It's not a bike I would own, but a bike that I would happily win, and I wouldn't be mad if it was in my garage. It's not like a Versus 650 where you feel like, get that out of my garage, I don't want to look at it anymore, but, you know.
Well, I'm glad we can at least place this above the Versus 650.
My God, yeah, it's league. I could find quite a few bikes that I like that more. So definitely like it way more than a Versus 650.
And remember, guys, today is the last day you can get entered to win this thing. So you've got until 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to get yourself entered to win this bike. I've got it kitted out with cruise control, and I put my nice quad lock charger on there, which is tied into the bike, so you don't have to worry about it. And who knows what other silly stuff Jake the Garden Snake has been doing with it, because he currently has it right now. So, because I'm coming to you from the past. It's currently January. But this is a bike that I would happily have in the garage, and I'm actually going to be sad when it's gone, because it is a really comfortable, really fun bike to ride, and it could be yours. Click that link down in the description below and get yourself entered to win. Whitney, any final thoughts?
I'm sorry. Look, I'm sorry for the first time in our long motorcycling journey together. I'm sorry for bumming you out a little bit, but at least you can always understand where I'm coming from, which is really important.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so
I'm not.
It makes me feel less of a weirdo for being like, dude, I don't know. This is wacky.
Well, with that, guys, we're going to wrap this one up and catch you in the next one. See you later.